Hey friends, it's Karen with Applique Market. I wanted to give you a quick little tutorial on bean stitch applique letters, and in particular I'm going to show you today on our Whimsy block font. The first thing we're going to do is put together the name or word that you want to stitch out. I am in Embroidery, but you could do this in whatever software you normally use. So I'm going to type out the name I want. And one thing about this font, and we have another tutorial that explains Embroidery and ways to use Embroidery, so I'm going to kind of go through this part quickly. This font has some alternate letters for the lowercase I and the lowercase j. And if you just use an I in here, it's going to put the I with the dot, but I want the heart. So I'm going to use a 1, which is the alternate, and as you can see, it put the heart over it, and the number 2 would give me the star, and it works the same way for the letter J. I'll just show you real quick. If you put the J in, it's going to give you the normal, and if you put 3, you'll get the J with the heart, and 4 gives you the J with the star. So of course for today I want the I with the heart, so I'm going to put instead of putting the I in, I'm putting in the number 1. Now this particular font, I think it looks better kind of almost stacked on top of each other, if that's just sort of the look that most of our samples are done in. And so I'm going to space these together. So just to go back and show you, that was the normal spacing, and in Brilliance you can just slide this over, and I'm going to scrunch it. So I'm using the 3-inch, and I want to make it a little bit smaller to fit, so I'm going to sort of scrunch that in just a tad, and there's my name. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to take it over to my machine and show you how we stitch it out. Okay, so I'm going to show you, this is what we're kind of going for. I'm going to sort of demo this. This one was done on a gown, of course. This is a zippered gown, and so the way they work is, if you haven't done one of these, is they unzip down the side, and then you hoop. You can lay it flat on your hoop, and that's how I did this in this large hoop, which I'll show you when I get the things off. Obviously you can do smaller, you don't have to do this size. When we do these letters, we're going to trim them, and we're going to leave a little bit of an edge, and that just is kind of the look we're going for on here. And another thing we do is these letters are made to where the inside of the letter you don't cut out necessarily, you put a different fabric over. That is optional. You could cut it out and just leave it empty if you wanted to. So we're going to use Heat and Bond Light on the backs of our fabrics, which I will show you how to do that. We're going to use a sticky spray, which I'm using Sulky KK2000, applique scissors, which are curved, and of course fabric cutting scissors, your hoop, and your multiple fabrics. I think this looks better with all the fabrics mixed up. I don't think it has the same look if you use all the same fabrics, but you could. I like it mixed up with all different fabrics. So here we go, and I will show you how it's done. All right, we've got our design in the machine, and we're ready to get started on the first one. We're going to stitch the placement for the S. These letters are all going to go one at a time. So the first thing we're going to do, and it really doesn't matter what color that we do this in because it's going to get covered up. Okay, so this is the part where we're going to place our fabric down over the placement stitch, And this is where we want to put the heat and bond light. Make sure it's on the back of our fabric. So I've cut a little piece off of the roll. One side is smooth and it's paper, and the other side is kind of bumpy. And that is the part that goes on the back of your fabric. And that's all you do, is you put it on the back like that, and then you press this for just a few seconds, and you can follow the directions on the package. It will tell you exactly how long to press and give you instructions. But you press that on. After it's pressed, it'll be like this, it'll be stuck to it, and you just pull the paper off. And what you have is your fabric with a little sort of a film, a little layer back here. You'll be able to tell it's back here. And this is what we're going to use now. So we're going to take a little bit of our spray, and my spray is almost empty there. So you're just going to press it down over the letter, and that's just a temporary. And then we're going to take that back to the machine, and we're going to stitch our tack down, and it's going to be 2 rows of bean stitches. And then we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you how to trim it on this one, and then we'll get going. Okay, so we have everything stitched, and at this point, when you're using the heat and bond light, there's a couple different ways you can do it. If you'd like to sort of fray the edges, you can do that. I personally don't. I mean, these edges are going to fray the first time it's washed. The heat and bond light will hold it together some, but it's not meant to leave them perfectly straight, so you'll still end up with a little fraying. So at this point, what I like to do is leave it as is, and then I take my iron and press all the heat and bond light down, and just kind of gets the underneath. I'll seal that, so it'll be nice and smooth. Okay, so at that point, your design is complete. Of course, if we had done this on an actual garment, then you could cut away your stabilizer from the back, but of course we were just sampling this on stabilizer. I hope this helped, and I hope it gives you a little of an idea how the process works on this type of a stitch. And don't be afraid of it. You know, just jump in and give it a try. And you can find this and all of our applique designs at www.appliquemarket.com.